So right quick, y'all, for those of you who are enjoying the book, who have not donated monetarily, I am depending on you all the most to like this video and tell a friend about us doing this book. It is so important, y'all. I'm doing like double the work now because I'm excited about Erica Kennedy and Natalie Cole. So I need my supporters to please thumbs up this video and tell a friend. And if you got a little extra change, tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NAROB on YouTube. Now, let's go. So, y'all, I've been paying attention to the comments, and we have some definite players that I believe she is representing in this book. The first one, I believe, is L.A. Reid. I didn't even think about L.A. Reid, but L.A. Reid, what's his name? Russell Simmons. Of course, Diddy. Who else? Andre Harrell. I don't think anybody said that, but I do believe Andre Harrell is one of the players in this book. Also, one of you all mentioned, what's the white dude name? Liar Cohen. I believe he's a player in this book also. Because when they talk about, what's the dude name? The white dude who's like in his 30s or something. I forget his name. But I believe that it's not Whitey. Is it Witty? I don't know, y'all. But I believe that he's also a major player. I picked up the phone and stared at it. What was going on? If she were to tell the God's honest truth, she hadn't expected them to call. At least not to say they wanted them. The audition hadn't gone very well. They'd all been so nervous. Keisha's voice cracking was the low point. But she was trying to remain optimistic. For herself as much as for the other girls. Yesterday, Lamont Jackson, the head of the label, hadn't said goodbye or thanks for coming or nice job. Nothing. He'd picked up his telephone before they were out the door and started dialing as if their performance had been an unwanted interruption in his daily business routine. The last to file out. She looked back at him, the phone to his ear. He caught her glance and finally cracked a small smile of encouragement or pity. She wasn't sure. Lamont had seemed to be channeling his thoughts to Daryl, who had done all the talking. Daryl had said they'd have an answer today, yay or nay, he told Kenny. So which does this call mean, she wondered. Yay or nay? And what was all this come alone business? When she walked back into Kenny's room, Keisha was lying on the bed with a wet rag on her face, moaning like she'd just given birth. Are you okay? Mimi said, kneeling beside her. No, Keisha moaned. Was that your mother again? Toya asked. No, Mimi said hesitantly. It was some guy, the son of my mom's friend. He lives here. He wants me to come meet him right now at this place just around the corner. Too much detail. She was lying poorly, and for what? The address Daryl had given her wasn't the address of the office. Despite Daryl's fierce warning, she wished she could talk to Kenny first before she did anything. Where the heck was he? He'd left almost 2 hours ago, and why couldn't he pay his cell phone bill? Y'all, I don't know. I don't know if I could trust a man who can't pay his cell phone bill. What the? How you gonna help me and you can't even keep your phone on? What place? Toya questioned. Mimi said, trying to come up with a name, but she didn't know New York, so she just turned and walked back into their room, hoping Toya wouldn't ask again. Mimi, what if they call? Keisha whined. No, not if, Toya corrected. They said they'd call today. Well, they might say they want us, or they might say they don't. Keisha counted, getting her energy back. I'll call you guys in an hour, Mimi said, changing out of her sweats as Toya watched from the doorway. Lose my duty. I've been like, what the fuck is going on here, bitch? What is this? Kind of for shenanigans is this? Bitch, where you going? I'm telling you, it's all a setup. It's like they seeing who she is. It's like they testing her. That's what people do all the time. They test you. And a lot of us fail. Mimi went to the closet and considered her clothing options. She couldn't wear the tight stretch jeans and cropped peasant top that she'd worn yesterday for the audition. Toya and Keisha had worn the exact same outfit, so Daryl would surely remember it. Besides, that look was a tad hoochie for her personal taste. During their search for the perfect audition attire, Keisha and Toya had nixed her more conservative suggestions. You don't even know this guy, Toya complained. Forget him. I can't. Mimi held up the black turtleneck with the bell sleeves that she had worn on the plane. I already told him I would come, so she shrugged. I would be like, girl, it sounds like a setup to me. I don't know. You say this your mama's friend, son? I don't know, girl. Yes, it would be the turtleneck with army green cargo pants and her leather boots with the platform heels instead of the slutty high heels Kenny had insisted they wear yesterday. Is he cute? Toya said. Who? The guy you're meeting. I don't know. I've never met him. She was already lying, so best to leave it at that. Mimi went into the bathroom and momentarily thought about telling Keisha and Toya the truth as she pulled back her wild mass of chestnut brown curls into a neat ponytail. She put on her favorite dangling silver and turquoise earrings, even though they stretched her lobes because she loved how they chimed with every step she took. She didn't have time for all the makeup Kenny had ordered them to pile on yesterday. Just a little concealer to cover the rash of pimples that seemed to be multiplying on her forehead. No, she decided as she applied some cherry-flavored lip gloss. She wouldn't tell them. She'd do this alone, as Daryl had said. Find out what was up, and then report back. Kenny had to be the problem. Seeing him in that plush New York office sporting his best nylon tracksuit had made it glaringly obvious how small time he was. When he had tried to give Lamont a demo of a male hip-hop group he was representing. When he had tried to give Lamont a demo of a male hip-hop group he was representing, it was obvious that Lamont was not the least bit interested. Kenny kept saying, just listen to the first track. It's on fire. Daryl had almost been forced to shove him out of Lamont's office. I'm the lead singer, Mimi told herself. I can handle this. Imagine if she could come back and tell them they had a deal. Okay, Toya finally relented, a little late as Mimi was already grabbing her knitted poncho and suede hobo bag and heading for the door. Maybe he's cute, and maybe we're going to get signed, and maybe we're going to move here, and maybe we'll be famous, and maybe he'll be your man. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Mimi said, shooting Toya a smile as she walked out the door. For 10 minutes, Daryl had been standing in front of the glass tower in Midtown that housed the triple large offices with his arm outstretched as available cabs whizzed by. He'd rushed out without his coat, and it was too cold to be out here in just a sweatshirt. The cold was the one thing he hated about moving up here from South Carolina. It took damn near till June for the weather to break. Cabs never stopped for him. He knew he should have given himself more time, and he would have if Lamont's cornball assistant hadn't made him wait until she put together some package for him to take to Lamont. He needs to see it tonight, Daryl. She'd insisted, then called the messenger service girlfriend, 'cause I gotta go. So now he was going to be late, and Lamont wouldn't stand for that. He thought about throwing up the hood of his sweatshirt to cover his cornrows, but that might just make him seem more menacing. He was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. Story of his life. A cab slowed to a stop in front of the building, and Daryl saw the blonde woman passenger handing money to the driver. Daryl crowded the door and tried unsuccessfully to open it. He wasn't going to accept that off-duty shit that these towel-head cabbies always tried to pull. He glanced up the street for a split second, thinking he saw a cute new TLE intern heading up the block. And when he turned back around, the cab was taking off, knocking him off balance and nearly running over his feet. The taxi stopped at the next corner to let the blonde woman out. She walked back toward the building, conspicuously avoiding Daryl's gaze. To add insult to injury, Daryl looked down and noticed a smudge on one of his brand new white-on-whites. Oh, hell no. He bent down to inspect the damage to see his Nike and decided not to mess with it and risk making it worse than it was. He rose and saw that a white man had hopped into the cab. This was the shiz that Lamont needed to see. This is why he had to order cars on the company account. Lamont was always complaining about that, calling it blatant abuse of company policy. It's a necessity, yo, had been Daryl's response. When Lamont pointed out that no one else in the office ordered town cars to get around, Daryl decided to drop it. Most of Triple Large's employees were female. Fat Man's own harem. They didn't have to deal with this bullshit. Cabs would stop for them, no problem. And the other guys in the office probably took the subway. Daryl wouldn't know. He didn't socialize with them. He only hung with other industry players on the rise. Though the price of admission to get into Lamont's inner circle was high. He was the only cat in the office who had membership other than Witchy. That's his name. Witchy is the character that I believe represents Liar Cohen. Now, before we go forward, we are about to get into the inner circle. In episode 2 or in part 2, the writer spoke about insurance. Okay? Insurance not meaning life insurance or car insurance. Insurance meaning blackmail. I'm going to have to make you do these demeaning and humiliating tasks so that I will always have that hovering above your head just in case you get out of line. I know you're not raising your voice at me. Don't forget that I got you to come wash my car butt naked in flip-flops at 3 a.m. in the morning. Though the price of admission to get into Lamont's inner circle was high. He was the only cat in the office who had membership other than Witchy. Who waltzed right in just because he discovered a couple of successful groups and stayed there by being the ultimate yes man. To join this elite hip-hop fraternity for over 2 years, Daryl had been a virtual indentured servant with a round-the-clock list of menial chores to do. It was not uncommon for Lamont to call Daryl at 3 in the morning to tell him his car needed a washing. What kind of making the band bullshit is this? Like I said, like humiliation must be a rite of passage in the industry. It was not uncommon for Lamont to call Daryl at 3 in the morning to tell him his car needed a washing. And he didn't mean wash it at your earliest convenience. It was understood that when Lamont told anyone to do anything, he meant now. But Daryl had made it in, winning some respect along the way for being able to withstand the pressure. I don't understand that. Most who thought they could hang disappeared once they found out how much work was required to become part of the crew. Exactly. But the menial chores and public mockery that used to rain down on him constantly were only intermittent these days. Too bad the other guys who tried to infiltrate the TLE circle couldn't suck it up because the end rewards were well worth it. Now Daryl was a producer of hit records. Well, one so far. If say what, the new ridiculous single hit big, he'd see some serious cash. So why should I have to take the subway? Daryl wondered spitefully. And why should he have to pay out of his own pocket for using the corporate car service? He considered himself the oil in the triple large machine. The other employees were replaceable. He deserved preferential treatment, even though he was sure he'd soon be making more money than he'd ever dreamed possible. He couldn't roll like he wanted to, not yet. In preparation for his eventual jump in tax brackets, he had toured some pricey apartments with a real estate broker, telling the woman he was looking for something fly. That bony white bitch had held tight to her purse and kept a pinched little smile on her face the whole time, and all the doormen at the buildings they visited had looked at him like he was some common thug. Or had they? Sometimes he felt like he was becoming paranoid. He had to cut down on the weed. He had noticed that Lamont would be at a party stone cold sober while everyone around him was drunk or high. And Lamont would be having as much fun as the rest of them, if not more. Fat Man had told him he'd tried everything once. Daryl realized he had to keep his mind right if he was going to make it to the top. But he was so out of his element rolling with Lamont, who could talk shiz with street ninjas one minute and take a meeting in a boardroom on Madison Avenue the next. Lamont, who'd commit fouls that no one had the guts to call during his pickup b-ball games at his Hamptons spread, then head into town for his favorite snack, bagels and lox. The regular pickup players were Lamont's big money networking pals. Some were white, some were black, and there was one Asian internet gazillionaire who looked like a college freshman and dressed like one too. They all had two things in common. None could ball, and they were all self-important dicks. They followed Lamont's cue and treated Daryl like gum stuck to the bottom of their sneakers, never inviting him to the post-game chowdowns. For the longest time, he thought it was bagels and lox, and he couldn't figure out what that meant. Then one weekend, he was sent to Twice Upon a Bagel to pick up Lamont's lunch, and the secret of the lox was unlocked. Daryl wished he had Lamont's social dexterity, but having grown up in a trailer drinking Kool-Aid out of old peanut butter jars, it was a difficult quality to master. When Dickie, his childhood friend turned rap star, had brought him up to New York close to 3 years ago, it was like being called up from the miners. At the time, Daryl's most treasured possession had been a 14-karat gold Mickey Mouse pendant, and he'd worn his hair in sloppy braids that made him look like Silly from The Color Purple. Okay, pause. Pay attention. Daryl's BFF is Ridiculous, the comedian rapper.